original Super Mario Bros. Is in that kind of situation, but more on that in its own video. Yep, it's happening. Hey, welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to be 2020 viewing a long-awaited game, Super Mario Bros. But before we get into the 2020 view itself, let me give you a bit of background. In the 2000s, especially on the internet, the 80s nostalgia was all the rage. There was this strange resurgence of interest in the NES and its games. Obviously, the game that became the most popular during this resurgence was the original Super Mario Bros. Not to mention the various Flash animations using the Super Mario Bros. Sprites, the Flash games using the sprites, and the many other adaptations of Mario revolving around his Super Mario Bros. Appearance. Due to this resurgence, I quickly became a big fan of 8-bit Mario and the NES. While other kids were playing regular Wii games, I was playing the NES trial games on Smash Bros. Brawl over and over again. Yeah, if I had known about the Wii Shop channel and Virtual Console games, because I never hooked my Wii up to the internet, I would have probably got all the NES games they had. I really wanted an NES in the original Super Mario Bros. Game, but I never got it back then. Nearly a decade later, I managed to score myself an NES. I was at GameStop to pre-order Mario Odyssey, and this old woman was trying to trade in their old NES. The guy behind the counter at GameStop wasn't allowed to take it, so he was cool with us just bargaining with it. I was able to take it off her hands for $20, and after cleaning it up, considering it was filthy, I tried to play a game, and it didn't work. So this was the first ever console repair I ever did. Thankfully, I managed to get it to work over a period of 4 months, and I tried literally everything, and it just randomly decided to work one day. It also magically doesn't require me to pop the games down to play them, and the repair that I did didn't involve the pin connectors at all, so it should still need me to pop the games down. Weird. Then we get to my weird copy of Super Mario Bros. I got this off of eBay for $7, and it has always been strange. At first it didn't work, then it would only work if I didn't pop the cartridge down. Now it works seemingly fine, except for a few things. It sometimes just glitches out and does random things at random times. Like when I was playing it last Halloween and this happened. Spooky. I've cleaned it countless times with countless methods and it still does this. Noticeable differences other than just the glitches are that the bullet bills can be randomized, meaning that sometimes 3 shoot out at a time or none shoot at all. Lakitu sometimes just doesn't throw any spinies at all, and there's just occasional just random glitches and such. Despite this, I've always still loved this game. I have an entire Mario costume based off this game, and a shelf dedicated to merchandise about this game. I'm also a huge fan of the art made by BWG Light, as it's heavily inspired by the Super Mario Bros. Style. So with that backstory out of the way, you'll probably understand my stance on this game, as, honestly, I think it's pretty overrated. Aha! I knew there was something off with my copy! It really is. I mean, you can't even go left. People hail this as the greatest game of all time, and it's like, you can't even go left. You gotta remember the rules of a 2020 view. There is no for the time or at the time, gotta look at things as they are. I will. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. The gameplay is good, for the most part. Sometimes Mario is a bit too slippery and jumping can feel non-intuitive. Especially because the jumping can be very, very inconsistent, but we'll touch on that later. For the most part, Mario controls decently well, and this would be the foundation of Mario's 2D moveset from then on. Even today in Super Mario Wonder, we can see that the precedents set from Super Mario Bros. Are still intact in Super Mario Wonder. Although, I do think it's funny how Mario just dies when touching an enemy. I know the Goombas are said to bite him, but it looks like he just goes, oops. It's like how that apple gave Snow White COVID. Although, as I touched on earlier, you can't move left. The screen can and will only scroll in one direction, that direction being right. Most games before this were generally one static screen or would swap between multiple static screens. This is one of the first side-scrolling games, so they probably didn't know how to make the screen scroll both ways at that time. But still, you can't go left. What if there was a warp pipe you forgot about until it was too late? I say that the level design is pretty good. Unlike the pencil phone from Outfit Saves Christmas, there are a few moments I'd call cheap. But I honestly think they nailed the level design. It's the perfect balance between unique, uniform, challenging, forgiving, fun, and interesting. Other than a few cheap moments and leaps of faith, I'd honestly say that this is one of, if not the strongest point of the game. I mean, there's an entire underworld to this game, but we'll get to that later. I absolutely love the graphics of this game. The 8-bit style here and pixel art in general has aged incredibly well. I also love how the developers got creative and stretched the whole 3-color per sprite limit by having the background add an extra 4th color. This can be seen on Bowser, Peach, and I believe Toad, but I'm not certain. But I just love the graphics of this game. If a game released nowadays looking like this, it would still be praised for its unique art style, and I understand why. Sprite art really has aged well. Sprite art is kind of like the video game version of hand-drawn animation, and they've both aged considerably well over the years. On the topic of graphics, nobody's ever really mentioned Nintendo's inconsistency with 8-bit Mario. In promotional media, figures, or advertisements, regular Mario is generally depicted in his super or big state. It's the state he's in once he's eaten a mushroom. And, during the time of this game's release, that stuck true for 8-bit Mario. Big Mario was the main Mario, and he was even made before Small Mario, which is evident in the game's code and production material. But in recent years, Nintendo has been preferring to use Small Mario as the main 8-bit Mario, and I'm not sure why. One may argue that Small Mario is more in canonical scale with the other 8-bit sprites. In his big form, he's the same size as Bowser and he's taller than Peach. That might be the reason, but I'm not 100% sure. Another thing I'm not sure of is why they changed Mario's colors from the beta. In the beta, Mario had his traditional colors, or the colors used in Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong. But in the final game, they settled for this brownish green and red color palette. And I wonder why. The NES is clearly capable of it, although I do like the unique look of it. Maybe they could use this color scheme in a power-up one day. I also think Mario's standing animation is kind of funny. Imagine somebody standing like this in real life. I also like Bowser's design here. He's just bald. Not sure whether it makes him more or less intimidating. And Luigi's design in this game is quite interesting. He has a white hat, white overalls, and a green shirt. I wonder why. I've heard it said that Luigi's color palette is just a reuse from a Koopa Troopa, which makes sense, but I wonder why they didn't do this instead. Although I do like the white and green look, and I'd say I possibly even prefer it to the green and blue color scheme, as it makes him look a bit more unique compared to Mario. Now we get to Peach, who may not seem like much, until we enhance the sprite. Honestly, best design for Peach. I've noticed that Nintendo has been changing Peach's design a bit, as she looks slightly different in Mario Wonder, and Mario War Peach is a complete different style. But if Nintendo wants to revisit their old work, so to speak, I don't have a problem. We're so close yet so far from perfection. Although they seem to be moving towards Movie Peach, which, please don't. Movie Peach looks like if you combine Peach with Karen Hepp, and we really don't need any of that. But it gives her more personality. I was able to recreate that exact same expression with the old design. You have no argument. If Peach is going to be redesigned, we all know the superior design to use. Although, even Nintendo themselves have been dipping their toes into that idea. After all, they did make Elephant Peach and this animated short about it, which means it is not impossible. So, hashtag make Peach thick. See, even Mario himself agrees with me. The music in this game can be an acquired taste. Personally, I like it, but I've heard people say that the notes sound hollow or even soulless. And I understand that, and I can hear it too, but I honestly really like this soundtrack. Can you really go wrong with this? maybe Bowser's just hiding out in the bushes with his tape recorder.
Haha, Mario's such a jerk.
Now we get to the biggest drawback of this game, the glitches. This has to be one of the glitchiest just video games I've ever played. It's up there with Mario 64. You know how people would just be bad at Sonic Adventure and then say, oh, it's glitched, it's broken, and yet they turn a blind eye to this glitch fest. This is one of the most popular games to speedrun, and its glitches are a huge reason why. This game works very weirdly and has many strange mechanics, like how Mario can just clip through blocks, or Lakitu is in the game's code, just glitched to throw Spinies randomly. Don't forget about the weird hitboxes, which don't even look proper when jumping over a piranha plant. Or how Bowser can show up before his palette even loads in, causing him to be blue. I mean, I could go on possibly forever, but I think the main course of these glitches is the negative world. For some unknown reason, someone decided to break a specific set of blocks and do a crouch jump at this pipe. When pulled off correctly, Mario will clip through the pipe and slide to the warp pipes. But if you enter them before they fully load, the middle one will take you to World 5, but the other two takes you to the negative world. That's right, an entire glitch world. But first off, who knew to just do that? How do you randomly stumble upon this? Very specific setup, very high failure rate. Like, how do you just know to do this? Like, what makes you think to just randomly do this? There's nothing that would tell you to do it. I'm telling you, I think there's something going on behind the scenes about how this was originally found. This does not just randomly get discovered easily. But back on topic. The first level of the negative world is impossible to beat. It's the level 7-2 on an endless loop. The pipe just takes you back to the beginning instead of the flagpole. But if you use hacks, you can spawn a flagpole in the level, making it beatable. You then get to play through the other lesser-known levels of the negative world. Here, you'll go through an underwater castle with no enemies. Then, you'll play the same stage again, but on the overworld this time, and there's enemies. But these levels don't get talked about as much, considering it requires hacks to play them. But the Japanese version of the game has completely different negative world levels, and these have even less coverage. This is an overworld level, but underwater. Here you'll see Peach with dazzling blue eyes, and Bowser's lower half throwing a hammer. Next is just a regular level. No oddities other than the fact that it exists. Next is a castle level that's underground. Nothing else odd about it other than when you beat the level, it just takes you back to the title screen. Also, tying this in here, if you jump over the flagpole and just keep running, the level never ends. It just indefinitely extends itself. I've heard it reported that there are 556 worlds in the original Super Mario Bros. Games, most of them being glitch levels. That's astonishing, if it's true. There's this video online said we'd be playing the only playable levels from these glitch worlds, but that leaves us in the dark as for the non-playable ones. Remember some time back when Mario 64 personalization AI was popular, and people were talking, mainly joking, about Super Mario 64 containing an AI that can alter the game and even turn the game into something else entirely? I'd honestly say Super Mario Bros. Is the closest we have to that. There's an entire other game of just auto-generated glitch levels. Now, I'm not claiming that there's some spooky AI in the game or that is haunted and hyper-realistic 8-bit Mario will jump out of your TV. Oh wait, that kind of happened. But considering how weird my copy is, and the fact that there's this whole other game of glitch levels beneath the surface, this is likely the closest we'll ever get to some rogue AI in a Mario game. Also, going back to how my copy is weird, my copy's much harder than the regular Mario game. Super Mario Bros. Is not a hard game. I've beaten it many times on emulator, NES Classic, online service, and yet I was only able to beat my original copy once, and it was fairly recent. I'm sure for the regular game there's some spaghetti code with these AI-generated levels, but it makes me wonder, could my copy have other glitch levels? Because it in and of itself is kind of glitched. I guess there's no way for me to get past the standard negative world level, so I'll never know. I doubt it. I mean, it's the same Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt game that came with every NES back in the day. Or maybe since it's real hardware, it's just wearing out due to its age. I mean, it used to just not work until randomly deciding to. That's not normal. Not true. On that same note, there was a rumor about a hidden chocolate factory level, which you apparently be able to make out that it was a chocolate factory level, not just a polluted lake or something like that. But despite all the glitch levels present, there is no chocolate factory level that I know of. Maybe Mario's just like this guy. Overall thoughts on this game. It's a good game, but if you compare it to a game like Mario Wonder, you can see clearly which one is better. I give this game a 14 out of 20. It's a great game, it was revolutionary for its time, but that time has passed. And that is why I consider it to be an overrated masterpiece. Oh no, it's mean old Mr. Nostalgia!
Why yes, it is me, mean old Mr. Nostalgia. That reminds me when I first heard my name. I believe that was during the First World War.
So you're the one haunting my copy.
I haunt every aspect of your life, not just your $7 eBay game. But that is not important. What is important is that I get you to agree with me that this game is just as perfect as you thought it was when you were younger.
Good luck with that.
Oh, but I have a present for you.
That generally doesn't mean anything good.
Only one way to find out.
Super Mario All-Stars for the Wii?
Oh, don't you remember how much you loved this game when you were younger? You finally got to play those classic NES Mario games.
You mean the Super Nintendo versions of these games?
You didn't seem to mind after a bit. Don't you remember just how much you loved that game? How you played it to death? How, even though it wasn't perfectly what you wanted, you knew that you loved it.
I know, but how is this gonna make me agree with you?
Don't you remember how delighted you were to play this game? How perfect it was for you? Don't you remember all the flash animations, fan games, drawings, all the excitement to get your hands on this game?
I do, but that doesn't change the fact that this game isn't perfect. You can't just cover up flaws with nostalgia.
It appears I can't get you to agree with me this time. But next time I will, and I'll make sure of it. So until then, au revoir!
Wonder if I can get Thick Peach to jump out of here. That's something the world needs. I know that's something I need.